I thought AI was for geniuses only, but I was wrong. Learning it and working with it every day taught me to think differently and taught me how best to use these new tools. Here are the best lessons that I've learned. Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Good?
Merry Christmas.
Good. Merry Christmas. I would like to thank you all for gracing me here with your presence. This is going to be a slightly different user group than what most of you are probably used to, because usually the people that present here are developers and they're giving you something technical and interesting that has to do with some sort of software code that they have worked on or are working on. And this is going to be a little bit different because I am not a developer. I'm just a normal person, just like the rest of the world. And maybe we have a couple of normal people here. Basically, this is going to be my journey from not knowing anything about the tech world and doing something completely different to now having been at a tech company and being all in the AI game and learning about what all these software developers do and how they're using these new AI tools. Therefore, I have called the talk the 12 Days of Generative AI. Hands up who knows what generative AI is? Yep, okay, I see some hands not up. So generative AI is any AI that makes things. So it generates text, or it generates an image, or it generates a song or whatever. So as you can see, that's me in the picture, and this is the .NET user group for December of 2024. Oh, why is there a missile on the toad? Because it wouldn't be Christmas without a mistletoe. I actually wanted permission. Oh, that's very nice. Yeah, I actually wanted permission to hang mistletoe in here, actually. But yeah, I tried, but they wouldn't give me it, so instead I just had to put it on the background. So what we are going to do is, this looks like a pretty short agenda. It's because I don't have a bunch of different topics to cover, but basically I'm going to give you some background about myself, and then we are going to go from day 1 to day 12, with each day being a step in my sort of mental journey from knowing nothing about tech to being where I am now. All right, so it's going to go from day 1 to day 12, and it's going to be the best lessons I've learned along the way, basically. So. This is going to be a story with lessons learned. And then after that, I have some of my favorite examples of stuff that we've done with AI over the last couple years that are cool to show you. So this is a bit about me. Obviously, that's my name, and you can find me at ssw.com/people/my-name or in the SSW Newcastle office. Now that is a picture of me in the beautiful south of Germany. After just swimming in that lake. After swimming in that beautiful body of water with big mountains in the background, it was awesome. So those 3 things on there are 2 truths and a lie. So one of those things, has flown an airplane, has never eaten sushi, can talk to dogs, is incorrect. But I won't tell you, and you can guess that and talk to me later about which one you think is wrong. You can also follow me on Strava, which is where I post whenever I'm out doing cool stuff. I post all my adventures on Strava, so you can see what I'm up to. And it looks like I was riding in Wixie's car on December 2nd, although Strava seems kind of unhappy with that. But it was my longest ride, so I'm pretty happy about that. I got a Strava medal for it. If you want, you can get the SSW Rewards app. You can scan that QR code or go to the App Store and search SSW Rewards. You can scan other people who work at SSW or anybody else that has the app, get some points, and we give out prizes for people that have a lot of points. You will also get points for watching this talk because there will be a code at the end. Starting with the background. So I called this talk the 12 Days of Generative AI after the famous song, The 12 Days of Christmas. If you don't know it, it's a song that literally goes the 12 days of Christmas, and it goes on and it describes what happens on each day of Christmas. And then some of you might have also heard that OpenAI also did a 12 Days of OpenAI thing, which they announced after I created the title to my talk, so I did have the idea first. OpenAI had the idea second, just to be clear. But that led me to think that somebody must have been leaking my idea, and I can only conclude it was somebody who is at SSW. So I did go about checking the cameras a little bit, and I was looking for who might have leaked my talk idea. I did see something suspicious going on in the engine room. I have blurred the face for obvious reasons, but you can see that on these screens there was some sort of encrypted communication going on that I didn't quite understand. And I'm sure he was sending it to OpenAI, but he knew I would check the cameras, and so that's why he sent it in such a coded way. So I'm going to be having a conversation with him later, but I did have this idea first. So that's our background, and now we are going to go to days 1 to 12. So as a reminder, day 1 is absolutely 0. Day 1 is the first day that I ever found out about Chat GPT, right? Which was the first AI that I had ever used personally, right? And day 12 is essentially today. So day 1 was like, wow, is it really that smart, right? That's what I thought. Now, who remembers the first day they heard about Chat GPT or another AI? So for me, I was sitting in a train with a few other friends. We were going on holiday, and so we were on the train from Newcastle, where I live, to Sydney, and we were going on a cruise that day. And my friend had pulled out his phone and said, have you seen this Chat GPT thing? And everybody said no. And he said, you can ask it anything and it will reply. It will give you answers. And we thought that's great. So our minds, of course, went to the first thing that your mind goes to. And we were like, what kind of mischief can we do, right? And we thought, this is really funny. It can give me instructions to take over the world using only camels and cigarettes. So you could ask it these absurd questions, and it would answer, but it would answer professionally, right? And like, it would give you a legitimate answer of how to do it. So phase 1, camel domination. Step 1, amass camels. Step 2, train your camels, and it's got subpoints for all these. Step 3, establish camel transport network. Obviously an essential step to taking over the world with camels. Including some things that are, like, admittedly pretty messed up, right? So your last step should be to create an addiction economy using your cigarettes in regions you aim to control, because addiction can lead to economic control, where people will do much to secure their supply. All right? And so obviously we found that pretty funny. And this was very early days. This was GPT 3.5 on one of the first days after it was released, November 2022. Now, obviously, we have AI models that can do even cooler things, like making camels that are taking over the world. So that was day 1. Day 2, well, it was still pretty funny, right? Who knows what a deepfake is? Yeah, so that's most of the hands. A deepfake is when somebody basically edits a video or an image to make it be like something that it's not, right? So you can make somebody say something they didn't say, or create an image of somebody that, somewhere where they weren't actually. And so I saw the first deepfakes, I go, this is hilarious, right? There's so much great comedy coming out of these. Some of them are right, some of them are wrong, some of them are used for good intent, and some are bad. But it is funny. Now, an example of that is this little video that I have here, which I'll play in a minute. And you'll see that somebody has taken the American president's voices and put them all together, playing the popular video game called Minecraft.
Damn it, Sleepy Joe, did you steal my horse again?
I literally haven't been on the server in 2 days. It was probably Obama.
No, it wasn't. I've been too busy building these flying machines.
Why do you keep building those flying machines?
That's none of your business.
Why do you guys keep saying this game will blow my mind?
Right, so that's an example, and there are many, many, many such examples. I've probably seen thousands and thousands of these. Anybody else whose social media algorithms just shows them funny, stupid stuff has probably seen these too. And so at the beginning, right, we're thinking AI is really funny. There's a lot of other funny stuff. It can make jokes. Why was 10 afraid? Because 789. Why was 10 afraid? Because it was in the middle of 9/11. Should ChatGPT be making that joke? Maybe, maybe not. But it could do it, and we thought it was quite funny that you could get it to do all this funky stuff. Right? My personal favorite, explain condensed milk to me like an excited caveman would. So you can get ChatGPT to explain anything like a caveman, and it goes, oh, me find magic milk. No come from cow fresh, No, this milk, thick, sweet, sticky, like honey but milk. And it's pretty funny to have it write a professional email like a caveman, for example. So at the beginning, we're thinking it's really funny, right? It's just funny, it's good fun, right? Sure. And then it started to get a little more serious, right? I try to stay updated in the world of tech and news and everything, and what I heard is people are using it to code, right? And even an idiot like myself knows the modern world is built on software. Even if I don't know how these computers work, they are working on software, and that's what makes them run. So if people are using AI to build software, what is this going to do, right? It's potentially going to change a lot of stuff. So you see tweets like this, right? I was pretty active on Twitter. And then you see people, this is all the code you need to create a custom ChatGPT. 30 lines, you got this. I don't know what that means, but it sounds really impressive the way they write it, right? Here's another one. ChatGPT just dropped their most powerful tool yet. Sounds really impressive. Here's another one. A full-fledged data scientist. Again, sounds really impressive. So if you're seeing all of this on social media, this makes you think that there's something crazy going on, right? Visualize San Francisco crime trends from an uploaded CSV. So it's a data analyst. ChatGPT is the most mind-blowing thing I've seen, right? Render animated GIFs based on a single prompt. So people are talking it up, right? It gets really, really hyped up, right? It was super hyped up. I'm sure we all saw this, even if you weren't on social media looking up tech stuff. So soon after that, I had a random chance occurrence where I met a tech guy, right? And I was working in a restaurant, and somebody came in one day and started talking to me and told me he ran a software company. And the first question that I asked was, what is ChatGPT and AI going to do to change the company or change how your people work? That was the first question I asked, because it was in my mind and I was curious. And basically what he said was, well, if you're interested in it and you want to use it, you can work for me. There was a lot more to the conversation, but that was the gist of it, right? And that guy was Mr. Adam Kogan, who's the chief architect here at SSW. And that was a fateful meeting, because since then we have done a lot of cool stuff, and this has been a new world for me. Here's me and Adam at the Sydney Airport departures terminal. Adam and I in Denmark. Adam and I in Denmark again. Adam and I getting our hair cut in Portugal. Adam and I and some other people at NDC Copenhagen, and also at NDC Porto, which is in Portugal. And by the way, all that orange you see is for the product that we were there promoting, which is called Tina CMS, and is a really cool website builder and editor. Check out if you haven't heard of it already. So on to day 5. So I meet Adam, and then what happens? Well, I start working, and I start using AI for everything, right? First thing I used it for was the employment test. So SSW had me do an employment test like everybody does. And of course I used ChatGPT to pretty much do all of it. Although I did do a little bit of the work myself, because I had to guide it into knowing what I was doing. And side note, they actually had to change the employment challenge after that, because I was the first person to have cheated all my way through it. And they wanted to make it so that nobody could cheat their way through again. So the employment test now has instructions to use ChatGPT, and now it's graded on a much higher level, because it assumes that you're going to use it. So I'm using it for everything: emails, website, everything, whatever. So here's an example. On the SSW website, we have put an AI chatbot. This is ssw.com.au. In the bottom right, where that arrow is pointing, you can see a little chatbot icon, and when you click that, it pops up a great little chatbot, which is basically a ChatGPT that is trained on the entire SSW website, and it will give you any of the info you want. So it's really cool, right? And this is one of the first things one of the first teams that I was part of at SSW, was getting this thing going, right? And that was really cool. We also have made a rule on it that has some of the best solutions for chatbots, and why we picked the one we did. Another example, so one of my main jobs at SSW in the beginning was doing marketing, including running the social media. So being tasked with doing the social media. It's a lot of content writing, right? You're writing a lot of posts, you're thinking about a lot, you're writing, YouTube descriptions or whatnot. Now, who knows what a custom GPT is? See hands? Okay, most people know what a custom GPT is. For those who don't, a custom GPT is basically an instance of Chat GPT that you have given specific instructions to do a specific task, right? That's what a custom GPT is. So, one of the first things I did was make a custom GPT to write social media posts for me, right? Because instead of telling ChatGPT every time the kind of post I wanted, this one was able to do it the same way every time with its specific instructions. All right, so that was quite helpful. And then, SSW has a lot of social media. Here is the SSW Instagram. So a lot of these posts on here have been AI helped, so to speak. We also have a pretty rigorous induction program here called Sugar Learning. And what Sugar Learning looks like is basically you have a whole bunch of items in a list and you have to tick them off one by one. Now this list is pretty big. 323 is the number that I have completed, but some people have more depending on what their role in the company is and what they have to learn. But this takes people a long time, and we want everybody to be starting to think about AI when they get started, right? As soon as they're doing induction. So, as an example, right, here is one of the Sugar Learning items, one of the very many, which is about conducting a test please with somebody internally before you show something to a client. So, we have a rule on that, and what a test please means is I do a piece of work, and then I show somebody else, and I say, can you please check this for me? And then they say approved, right? Or they give me changes, and then once I get a test pass, I get to show it to the client, right? So it ensures that nothing slips through the cracks. Now, this induction item gets people to practice a test please. And what we've done here is added a little ChatGPT tip. So before getting it checked by someone else, you should get it checked by ChatGPT first, then take it to someone else. So it's just one more level of filtering and checking, which is really good. So I was also adding tips to our induction early on to try to get people using ChatGPT, because we want everybody to start being AI minded. And then to get everybody to be AI minded, we also want to be transparent. Like, we wanted to be showing everybody that we are using AI. Like, I'm using AI, you can see that I'm using it, so it maybe encourages you to try using it a little bit more for your work. So we came up with this concept. We said we'll put the robot emoji after something that we used AI to write, right? And that will tell everybody else that we used AI to write that thing, and everybody can do the same thing. I've got an example of that here. So this is a random change to the SSW website. I have no idea what all that means, by the way. That is just a bunch of code. I'm sure the developers who are smarter than me know what it means. But I can see that Isaac here has left a little comment and put robot emojis around it. And what that means is that tells everybody else who's reviewing this that he had AI do a little analysis of it, right? That's really cool, because maybe somebody who wouldn't think of using AI to do that might think of it next time. So from that, we have our first lesson to learn, which is to be AI-minded. So AI-minded means that you're always thinking about AI for your next task at hand, right? So I'm given a task. I want to think about, can I use AI for this task before I start doing it, right? And if I can, then I use it. It might save me some time. If I can't use AI for it, I do it manually, which is what I would have done before anyways, right? So there's nothing lost, but there's a lot of potential gain. All right, day 6. So I'm using AI everywhere, right? So now what do? Well, I start building things just to see if I can, right? Who else, when they first figured out about ChatGPT or whatever AI it was that you started with first, who else kind of had this curiosity of like, what can I build with this? Like, what cool things can I make with this? Yeah, so that's one of the ideas that crosses your mind, right? We have a powerful tool, you're like, what can I do? So I wanted to push the limits a little bit. So I built a website. Now, keep in mind, I do not know how to code. I've never even built a website before. It's a dumb little website. It's called How Not to Be an Idiot in 2024, soon to be outdated. And it is just a blog that has random little stories on it that are all AI generated. I'm not going to show them because they are just a bunch of essays, full of nonsense a little bit, because I didn't put really any effort into making them good. But I just wanted to see if I can make a website, and I did. Now, who remembers that custom GPT I showed you earlier? Yeah, the social media post writer, or social post expert writer, SPEW for short, because it spews out a lot of good content. So this thing actually does not just write social media posts. I actually was able to add an action to it, which is connected to an API in the red box. Now, if you don't know what an API is, don't worry. I'm sure a lot of you do because you're smart. But I didn't even know what an API was before I did this, right? So you can see in that red box, it says API title YouTube transcript API, right? So what that is this API called YouTube transcript API, which was a great little API that, by the way, ChatGPT helped me find in order to do this task that I use for it. So what is an API? Well, I had no idea, right? I still don't know fully what an API is. I know basically what it is, but I actually learned it just by asking ChatGPT to help me through what an API was, because I didn't know. Basically, it's a connection to another application. So one application needs to connect to another. You use their APIs to plug into each other, right? That's basically what it means. And I did not know how to do any of this. ChatGPT helped me through all the steps. I basically told it, I want to get YouTube transcripts from YouTube and then use them for you to help me write social media posts. So what's the result of this? Well, here's what a conversation looks like. I say I want a new video post, and then it asks for the URL, and then I give it the URL, and it writes me a post, right? So basically what it did is it took the transcript from that video, and it read it, and then it wrote me a social media post based on that transcript, right? So that's really cool. If that video is about something really technical and something, about some piece of software or something that it's really hard for a marketing person like myself to understand, this GPT can write a much better post than I would be able to write myself, right? And then I'd have a developer just edit it a little bit, top it off, and then it's good. Now, some notes on me just building random stuff with code and with ChatGPT, right? Obviously, I'm never going to be better than a real developer at this stuff, right? Because all I know is what ChatGPT tells me. Sometimes it's wrong. Sometimes I guide it wrong as well. However, it did help me test the capabilities of what you can do with the API, like with the GPT API. So what you can do by building it into applications and stuff. And that was really cool. And this was super conceptually helpful, right? This was really, really helpful. Who here is built with the GPT API or some other AI API? Yeah, that is almost half the people have done that. That's very cool. I'm sure you've done cooler stuff than me, but this was really awesome for me to find out that I'm even capable of doing this because ChatGPT is smart enough to help me to do it. So the lesson here is that I haven't actually really become any smarter, but I now have this sort of extended brain at my disposal that I can use when I want to. And it sort of makes me seem smarter than I actually am, right? All right, day 7. So at this point, I've used ChatGPT a lot. I'm sure a lot of you have as well, right? You're in the tech world. Who notices that it gets repetitive sometimes? Yes, most people notice that it gets repetitive. So I am sure, right? I'm sure that all of you have seen something that you look at and you go, I can tell that somebody did that with ChatGPT, right? That has definitely happened. That happens to me all the time, to be honest. I see a lot of things and I go, that's ChatGPT, right? So once you've used it enough, you start kind of feeling what the AI kind of produces, and you can kind of find it. So I'm curious, right? I'm curious if anybody else has this shared experience. So you see sentences like, embark on a journey to harness the potential of unlocking the unleashing of innovative, collaborative, transformative, and then you get very angry. Right? And it's using a lot of these same words all the time. That's one of the telltale signs. So interesting sidebar to this. There have been some articles that claim that ChatGPT uses the word delve. Now, who's noticed ChatGPT uses delve a lot? The word? Anybody else notice that? Yeah, it kind of does, right? It's one of the ones that you look at and you go, it's an advanced word to be using in someone's personal writing. Well, these articles claim that in Nigeria, They have made a lot of email scams, and they use the word delve in a lot of those email scams because it is popular in Nigerian business English, and therefore the Chat GPT training data set has an unbalanced number of the word delve in it, and that is why it uses the word delve so much. Now, I don't know if this is true. There are some articles about it. Here's another one. This might not be true, but it definitely shows what is possibly true, right? It shows that that can happen, right? Its biases are in its training data, and that's why it has these same patterns when it generates us text. So here's another one of our rules. Do you keep your prompts concise and clear? And I started noticing a lot of these similar patterns of words in our writing, right? Whether it was AI writing or not, I sort of started getting like a little bit resentful of these words, you could say. So here's an example of a rule where I see crafting prompts, creating concise and clear, minimal, brief, and focused can help prevent confusion. And it's a lot of nice, elegant writing. And I don't know, maybe somebody just wrote this really elegantly, right? It's possible. Maybe also they might have used something else to write it, which is fine, right? This is not a problem, and it's only really noticeable to those of us who are using AI a lot, right? Because we get used to it, right? And we start noticing these words. But there start to be like telltale signs when you've seen it a lot. The internet has obviously gotten a hold of this in the social media space and started doing a lot of funny things with it. Now, has anybody seen the Mercedes CLR GTR meme going around the internet? Yeah, one person has. One person's got the same algorithm that I do. Oh, yes. Yes, awesome. So I'll explain briefly what this is. The Mercedes CLR GTR is not a car, right? It is just a bunch of random letters that sound like it could be a Mercedes car. But somebody, some first person or group of people, have got ChatGPT to explain this car, and they started putting it in random captions on social media. So here's an unrelated picture, and then you have the text that says, no problem, here's the information about the Mercedes CLR GTR, the Mercedes CLR, blah, 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 blah. And this is all over the internet, right? Here's another one, totally unrelated picture, same caption. No problem, here's the information about the Mercedes CLR GTR. So what happened here is that enough people kept doing the same thing that the algorithm of Instagram started valuing it. So the algorithm started thinking that this is a really popular subject that people are posting about. And so if you wrote a post with those specific words, it would value your post more. So people were using it to go viral. That's basically what it was. And it has these signature ChatGPT marks all over it, including talking about a car that doesn't even exist, right? It just sounds cool. So the lesson to be learned here is that AI leaves traces, right? To those who are in the know. So it doesn't leave traces to somebody who's never read AI writing before, but to those of us who are working with it a lot, it does leave traces. And maybe you get a little bit, you're maybe a little less trustworthy of the person doing the writing if you can tell that it's super AI generated, right? Now there's a little caveat to this, which is that newer models such as O1 and other ones keep improving this problem because they're trying to basically sound less AI. They're trying to use those common phrases a little bit less. So day 8, I can sniff out vanilla ChatGPT, right? Who else thinks that they can sniff out some ChatGPT if they read it? Yes, it has a pretty distinct writing style, right? If you don't tweak it at all, it seems pretty, it tends to come out with the same stuff. And who else gets a little ego boost when somebody shows you a piece of writing, right? And then you go, yeah, that's ChatGPT. Yeah, you get a little proud? Yeah, because you go, I use AI so much, I can tell you use AI to write that. Yeah. And then this happens all the time, right? So I started noticing this in a lot of the work that we do here. For example, here is me adding to one of our rules a warning to review GPT content. I have written here, I notice people are writing rules with GPT and not even bothering to edit them. This is obvious and not good. All right? So that was the sentiment at the time, right? So now we're on a little bit of a downswing. I'm a little more unhappy with the AI stuff because it's kind of being overused and it's obvious when people use it. Here's another one where I noticed some weird sounding sentences, like they're copied from Chat GPT. And so I started fixing other people's mistakes or other people's obvious AI stuff, and also fixing my own. Right? I started going back and fixing a lot of my own writing that I look back and realize, wow, that just sounds like super boring AI. So what happened here? Well, I realized I got to edit everything. Right? I must edit everything. I cannot sound like AI. And then I'm spending more time editing than I would spend just to write the thing, right? Which is kind of frustrating. Yeah. Anybody else have that happen to them before? Yeah. You use Chat GPT or something else for something, or maybe you use Midjourney to make some images, and you're trying to get the image you want, and then you go to Google Images and you find what you wanted in like the first 2 images, and then you're like, I just spent 15 minutes, messing around with it I didn't even have to do that. So obviously then I become a little more selective about using it, right? They start to try to think about, when are the right use cases? And the lesson here, this is an important one, is that it's not as useful if others can tell that you didn't pay attention to your writing, right? Your writing or your coding or your images or whatever. But if others can tell that you didn't really care about it, right? It's not as useful. Day 9. Others outside the tech sphere start catching up. So up until this point, it was very much a tech world kind of thing. You didn't see it that much outside. But now, and I want to say that this probably equates to, 6 months to a year ago, maybe a year ago is more accurate, but you start reading AI writing everywhere. So here's an article about if you are a restaurant owner, how to use ChatGPT to write your menu descriptions. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I have pulled up a restaurant on Google Maps and read the description and gone, that's ChatGPT. Has anybody else done that? No, I might have been lucky and found the only restaurant that used ChatGPT. But here's an article explaining how to use it to write your menu. Now, there's maybe a little bit of irony in this article because I see thrived on creativity, innovation, and adaptability, leveraging AI, experience the power of AI. I don't know. Maybe they did write it. Maybe they are these good of writers writing about how to use AI to write your stuff. I'm not sure. Maybe you're on Facebook Marketplace. Who uses Facebook Marketplace? Yeah, we love Facebook Marketplace. And maybe you want to buy a boat. And maybe you'll read that the person who is selling the boat writes, a paragraph that may or may not be ChatGPT. Maybe you can't tell, but it has you wondering. You're like, did they use AI to write this? I don't know. Maybe do they actually know about their boat, or are they just getting ChatGPT to write about their boat to try to sell it to me? I don't know. But it makes you kind of question, are they serious or are they not serious, right? Now, I can tell you that if you want to buy a Hatz Diesel Megator Firefighter water pump, that it is most definitely written by ChatGPT. Because Hatz Germany is renowned for its exceptionally reliable diesel engines, built to perform under extreme conditions, trusted engines from Antarctica to the Australian outback. With a legacy of precision engineering, Hatz engines are trusted worldwide for their durability and efficiency. Now, I don't know if this guy knows about his engine or not. He might. It's not even about an engine. It's about a firefighting pump, but the paragraph is about an engine. So this guy really didn't even pay attention to his thing, and that probably makes you trust it a little bit less. Who would trust this marketplace listing? Nope. Yeah, got some no's. Yeah, I wouldn't either, right? So this is kind of sad, right? Everything is just less original. People aren't writing their stuff, and this makes me a little bit sad. Because you see the marks of ChatGPT everywhere, right? And that's the world that we're still in now. Day 10. Day 10, I had a little bit of a reconciliation with ChatGPT and the other AIs. So I thought maybe that was an overreaction before. It's definitely still useful, but maybe I just need to be more careful, right? So I would call this my healing phase. I healed my relationship with ChatGPT. I realized that with some others' help teaching me that you can actually use the AI to make the AI not sound like the AI, which sounds funny, but it actually works very well. right? We have an SSW rule about this called, do you make ChatGPT produce human-sounding content? And it's basically telling you how to prevent that really trademark AI sound, right? How to get it to write like you, essentially. And I have some of my favorite tips here to show on how to prevent the AI stench. So a really good one is make it sound less professional. Now, it usually uses all these big words when it's writing for you, right? And that's one of the things that is a pretty trademark signature. If you say make it sound less professional, it tends to sound more casual, like a real person wrote it, or like not a genius wrote it. You can say make it less cheesy. This is quite helpful I found this helpful using it to write social media posts, because when you tell it to write for social media, usually the cheese level is off the charts. And then my personal favorite is don't use big words. Now this one just sounds like way too easy, right? Don't use big words. It doesn't have any big words in it, that sentence. And it sounds like, it's not very specific. It sounds like it would be a bad prompt. However, I'll show you how it works. Write me 2 sentences about the benefits of using AI in your work. Using AI in your work enhances productivity by automating repetitive tasks, freeing up time for more strategic and creative activities. It also provides valuable insights through data analysis, helping you make better, faster decisions. Right? Don't use big words. Using AI in your work saves time by handling simple tasks for you. It also helps you find useful information quickly so you can make better decisions. Now, if you were writing, who would use the first one? Hands up. Who would use the second one? That's everybody that would use the second one. Let's do another example. Write a 2-sentence social media post about AI for your business. Here we go. Ready? Unlock the power of AI to transform your business. From streamlining processes to driving innovation, discover how AI can give you the competitive edge you need. Right? I smell a little bit of cheese. Don't use big words. AI can help your business work smarter and grow faster. Start using AI to save time, cut costs, and get ahead. Who would use the first one? Hands up. Who would use the second one? That's everybody again. It makes it sound much, much more human. Don't use big words. Right? This is ironically, one of the most valuable things I think I've ever learned about it. So the lesson here is my favorite prompt edition. Don't use big words. It seems too easy. It is really easy, and it works really, really well. On to day 11. So by now, we've gone through the stages of being very excited about this new AI to getting a little bit annoyed by it because it's really repetitive, and getting a little bit sad maybe that things aren't original, to then starting to heal our relationship a little bit and start using it more in moderation and much more tactfully, right? That's where we are now. And we realize that the core principles haven't really changed. If you're a coder, you still need to know your coding stuff, right? If you're a writer, you still need to be good at writing. If you're a designer, you still need to be good at design. You still have to have a good eye for this stuff, right? What it means, though, is that you can just work faster. So I'll show a cool example of working faster. So shaving the yak basically means when you're doing a task and you get distracted by something else, which then distracts you with something else, which then distracts you with something else, and you never get to do the original thing. So this is an example of I want to wax the car today. Oh, but the hose is still broken, so I need to buy a new one. Oh, but the store is across the toll bridge, so I need my toll pass. But I could borrow my neighbor's toll pass. But my neighbor won't lend me his toll pass unless I return his kid's pillow. But we haven't returned it because it's missing some stuffing, and so we need to go get some more yak hair to fill the stuffing so that I can do all that so that I can get to washing my car. And then, before long, you find yourself shaving a yak, right? Now this happens all the time in our company, and it happens all the time in other companies as well. Now, who has ever had the frustration of being distracted by the task you're working on by a bug or an issue that you need to report? Happens all the time because there's bugs and issues in all the things that we work on, right? That's why we work on them. Now, that gets really annoying, right? You're working on a task, you find an issue to fix. Then while reporting that issue, you find another bug. And then all of a sudden, you're 2 steps away from the thing you wanted to work on, right? Makes you kind of go crazy. So Yak Shaver is a AI bot that is designed to minimize this by letting you report your bugs immediately and get back to the task at hand. I will show a quick video of how that works.
Using Yak Shaver, I notice the issue. First thing I do, I press print screen on my computer, select the screen. I'm going to start recording. I just noticed a bug here in Dynamics CRM. In the active projects view, I can see the status ID is missing data. When I go into one of the projects, I can see that that status ID field doesn't exist. It's been hidden somewhere. So that is why it's missing data. So I need someone to go in, unhide that field, and fill it in for all our active projects. That's it. I press stop. My work's done. I'm getting back on with my meeting. I haven't wasted any more of my guys' time. And I'm back to my work. So let me show you how that worked, because it's kind of cool. So what I did is I used Snagit there, but you can also just use the recording feature inside Microsoft Teams to record a video. That video is then saved into a SharePoint location, and the Yak Shaver API is watching that location to pick up that video. When it does, it takes that video and it gives it to the Whisper API, which is an OpenAI tool that takes audio or video information and it pulls out the text transcript. So now I've got that text transcript. I put it together with the people who work at that company and the projects that are worked on at that company. I get that information in my case from Dynamics, but that could be from anywhere. Put that together with the video transcript and we give that to the Azure OpenAI API. From that information, Yak Shaver then spews out either an email if there's no backlog for it to be put in, or if you specifically ask for an email, or if there is a backlog, for instance, it uses Azure DevOps, or it uses GitHub, or Jira, or Zendesk tickets, or ServiceNow, or whatever your backlog is saved in.
Okay, so Yak Shaver is a bot that lets you screen record, and then it sends a bug report or an issue report into the appropriate place, like your GitHub, Azure DevOps, Jira, Zendesk, whatever, or it just sends an email to the right person. All right, so that's an awesome example of a way that you can use AI to just work faster, right? It just took you 30 seconds or a minute to report that bug, whereas before it might have taken you, some notes and then a screenshot and an email and then a conversation with somebody to even figure out where it needs to go, right? Yak Shaver is a good example of just working faster, right? Just lets us work faster. And so the lesson from that is that AI is great, helps us work faster, but we still need to trust our, if you're a writer, still need to trust your good eye for writing. If you're a coder, you still need to trust your good eye for coding. And if you're a designer or whatever you do, whatever you're a professional at, you still need to trust that you are a professional at it, right? AI doesn't replace us, it just augments us, right? So if Yuli is reporting that bug, like he just did in that video, well, he still needs to have a good eye for how it needs to function in order to report that bug correctly, right? The tool just helped him do it faster. Now on to our last day, day 12. We are now in the present moment, right? We have made it all the way from 0, November 2022, to today. Now, the way I want to finish this off is by saying that the tech world had culture shock. Now, who has experienced culture shock before? Only a handful of hands. Yeah? So for those that don't know or haven't experienced culture shock, when you move to a new place, right? For example, you live in Australia, you move to somewhere in Europe, right? The environment's very different. At the beginning, you can be really excited because you're traveling. You love to travel. That's why you did it. It's amazing. You love it. You have a sort of honeymoon phase. And then you start having kind of ups and downs, and it's this whole process of adaptation to a new place, right? You might get homesick, whatever. Well, that's what culture shock is, right? And it sort of goes in an up and down wave, right? Like a sine wave. If you graph a sine function on a graph, it makes a wave, and culture shock kind of goes in a wave like that. And so I'm calling this AI culture shock, right? So this is how AI has affected the industry. So at the beginning, right, you're really excited, right? Everybody's really excited. You're really excited to go travel. And for us, this was like the first learning about Chat GPT, thinking, oh, it's so funny, it's great, it can do all this stuff, right? We're super excited. Then we actually start using it. We get in the flow of things. For me, this was getting hired at SSW and starting to use it for my work all the time. This was like the honeymoon phase, right? It's great. It can do everything, right? This is like the solution to all of our problems. It's awesome. And then we start realizing that, oh, it's repetitive, right? If I keep using it all the time, I just get the same stuff. And I get a little bit disillusioned with it. And then in culture shock, this is kind of the phase where you get a little bit homesick, right? You get a little bit sad. You maybe get frustrated because you're like, everybody's using it all the time. I see the same AI writing everywhere. Everything's less original. We're kind of sad. We're kind of frustrated. And then you eventually heal your relationship. You kind of come out of the blues a little bit, and you start realizing how to use it more tactfully, right? In the culture shock analogy, that's sort of when you get adjusted after a while to your new environment. You start having real friends, and then you're then on your merry way. So let's go over all those lessons that we've learned one by one. The first one is be AI minded. So always think about AI first for the task at hand. If you can't use it, it's no problem. If you can use it, then it did save you some time. Second one is we're a little bit smarter because we have AI as the extension of our brain, right? We're a little bit smarter than we were. The next one is that AI leaves traces, and we all need to be aware that it does leave traces, right? If you don't try to obscure those traces or make it really sound like you, it does leave traces. It's not so useful if others can see that you didn't pay attention to your work, right? Just like when we look at somebody selling something on Facebook Marketplace and they wrote the whole description with AI, right? You kind of know that person didn't really pay attention to it. Next lesson is my favorite prompt edition. Don't use big words. Don't use big words. I highly recommend, if you've never done that, to start doing it now. And then our last one is you still need to trust your good eye for writing, or your good eye for coding, or your good eye for design, or your good eye for whatever it is. You need to use AI to help you work faster. But don't forget that you still have that knowledge. All right, so we have gone through the background and we've done days 1 to 12. And now I just want to show, for a little bit of fun, some of my favorite examples of what has come out of our AI usage. All right. So the first one is we made little cheat sheets for Chat GPT. Here's our rule on it. It's called Do You Have a Chat GPT cheat sheet? And it was basically one of the first things I did at SSW was trying to get everybody on board with using Chat GPT. We made a little cheat sheet of prompts, and we put it all over all of the toilets in all of the offices. So all of the toilets, no matter which SSW office you're in, have these posters in front of them that say, do your Chat GPT prompts stink? So you get to read that while you are in the toilets, and then you hopefully will never forget it. I definitely have picked up some things off of those cheat sheets. Now, those cheat sheets didn't just stay at SSW. Who here has heard of NDC conferences? Yes, they are the biggest software developer conferences around the world. And they have a lot of people that go there. And in 2023, there was this cool presentation at NDC Oslo, which is in Norway. Awesome, right? Done by Adam Kogan himself, called Rules for Better Chat GPT and Using the Best API Ever. And this was a cool presentation that I actually co-wrote. So I was a small part of writing this presentation, which I thought was really cool. Got to be presented by at an important conference by an important person. You can see here, it's on his blog. And actually, fun fact, at that talk, he printed out about 200 of those cheat sheets that are in our toilets and dropped them on the ground at the end of his talk. And not a single one of them was left after he did that. So there are at least 200 more of those cheat sheets, hopefully in somebody else's toilet all around the world. Now that was 2023. Now moving to NDC Oslo 2024. Again, Adam gives a talk. There's a lot of people there. And this talk, and now it was hard for me to go back and find the actual URL of the talk because the old NDC websites from past years kind of go away. But it was another talk about ChatGPT, although it was slightly different and more advanced. And I had a big part in writing this one, which I was very proud of. And look how many people are there listening to an awesome talk that I had a good part in writing. Now moving on from talks to more custom GPTs. So you remember custom GPTs are a GPT bot specifically trained to do one task. Here's one that is all in French that I made that is for our SSW Europe team to make social media posts for their French channels. Here's the SSW Europe YouTube channel that they use it for. Here's another custom GPT called the SSW Eventbrite Expert. Who knows what Eventbrite is? Yeah, most of you. It's an events management platform where you can post events and have people buy tickets. And we use it for our events. This is a custom GPT I made with another API call, by the way, that connects to Eventbrite and lets you post events to Eventbrite just directly from within the GPT. That's cool. Another GPT I made is called the Pull Request Overseer. Now, who knows what a pull request is? A pull request is when you make a change, you want to make a change to an article or something on your website. And you can't make that change directly because you need to request to make the change. Somebody needs to approve your request. We do that so that everything gets checked by somebody else before it goes live. So we have these SSW rules, of which you've seen many in this presentation. And they are best practices from the last 30 years of running a software company, and they get constantly updated. There are 3,500, and not enough because there should be probably at least 35,000. And those rules GitHub repository, which is public. And this is the list of pull requests. So these are all the people that want to make changes to those rules. Now, some people make changes to those rules with very descriptive titles like update rule, and very descriptive descriptions like no description provided. And you can see on this one that this person actually had to ping somebody else 2 days later to help them approve their pull request because he needed to go through. Now, what are the odds here that Mr. Brady Stroud had to then work a little bit harder to try to figure out what this change was actually doing, right? So it's quite important. Well, it might be intuitive if you're a developer, but it's not. It's not necessarily intuitive to us if you're a silly goose like us normal people. So this is a problem when people put undescript pull requests, nondescript pull requests. Out of all of that reviewing pull requests with my custom GPT, this rule came out of it, which is about using pull request templates. And now we have these handy little templates where when you make a pull request, you get prompted to fill out the information, right? And now that we do that, we have much better information on our pull requests than we used to have because this template is here. And that all came out of me making that GPT once just to review people's pull requests and make sure they were putting adequate info. So those are all the cool things that AI has done for me and all of the lessons that I have learned from it. So I would like to finish up by just urging all of you just to think about what AI has done for you and what it could do for you. Thank you.
So for those who don't know, I was actually the one running the interview for Seth right at the beginning that he cheated on. But he cheated on it so well that I was like, yes, come on board and teach the rest of us to cheat at our jobs as well as you did in this test. So that was really good. Yeah, I just think you've done really well to come in. Like, you didn't really have the normal requirements that we would look for a marketing person at the beginning. But you were so gung-ho, and this is going to sound terrible, but you're so lazy in all the right ways that you've come up with all this really innovative stuff. And they say that like laziness is the mother of innovation because I can't be bothered writing that social media post every day for the next 5 years. So that I'm going to make an AI that'll do it for me, right? And that sort of thinking produces such better results than the workaholic who's like, no, my job is I must write this thing. And yeah, it's just been really, really good. And I think that you and I think similarly about a lot of this stuff. It's been really great. But I'm just wondering if anyone has any questions for Seth.
I do. Hi. Great to.
Do you want to give him the mic? Sorry, we'll just wait
Take
1
that.
second.
Thanks.
I'm very proud of my laziness.
Yeah.
I work very hard for
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, that's right. You kind of do.
Yeah.
When you were using Chat GPT, did you just use Chat GPT, or did you actually use different LLM engines, different chatbots, to see if there is a difference between their outputs in terms of sounding AI or not AI? And the second question is, did you look for, there is AI software, free software on the net that actually you run your text through those AI programs and it makes it sound more human? Did
So
you look into them too?
So the first question is whether or not I've used different AIs besides ChatGPT to see if they sound more human. The answer is yes. I've pretty much tried all the ones that are out there, and some of them are like slightly better than others, but really the differences are like not too pronounced. Claude is pretty good, especially the new versions of Claude. There is also Grok, which is the one on X now. That one's also pretty good, but most of them are good up to an acceptable standard. So it doesn't matter so much which one you use. I always edit my stuff. Yeah. That would be the answer.
You can also train it on a particular writing style as well. So you can say, here's a bunch of my content. Please write on this topic in my style, and that
I know,
helps.
but you kind of realize that after you use that for a while. And I'm thinking at first he didn't. So
Yeah.
he was basically using the default settings, so to speak.
Yeah. And then the second question was, have I ran it through any of the free tools to make it sound more human-like? No, I have not tried that, but I assume that would have a similar effect as just putting a follow-up prompt that says make it sound more human or make it sound more like a casual person is writing it, because I would assume that the only thing those tools do is just run it through an API that has a prompt like that in them.
Yeah. Well, he actually, on one of his slides, he had one of our rules, which is how do you make AI content sound more human. And we've got like 6 different techniques in there about unfluffing and perplexity, and there's a whole bunch of different methods to use. And what you can do is you can actually take that prompt template at the bottom of that rule and just dump it into whatever you've made, and it'll rewrite it for you. So you don't even need a separate AI system. It's just a fancy prompt.
Okay, I have a question. So it's very inspiring session and learned a lot. I just wonder, have you explored AI option in speech to text or text to speech? This use case, because I see you use like a use AI to get a YouTube transcript, which is very useful. But in another cases like such a live session, and other cases you might need to record this whole event and get the transcripts for future users. So I just wonder if you have used these things. Thank you.
We have done speech to text a lot. In fact, ChatGPT now the Pro version, if you have it, or the first level Pro version, not the $200 a month one.
Plus version,
yeah, the Plus version has a voice mode that you can just talk directly into it, and it understands you and it will talk back to you. So that's actually speech to speech, but you can talk into it and have it reply like that. We have also used the Teams meeting recording feature, which generates a transcript of the meeting while you're doing the recording, and then we can run those transcripts through AI. We do that for some client meetings sometimes to make sure that we don't miss anything. And then as for text to speech, I know that you can do that. There are many apps out there
Labs.
that you can do that, 11 Labs and many other ones that you can do that with. As far as I'm aware, we have not actually used that in our work, although we could. I'm not sure if it's because they're not good enough, or just because we usually, when we're making videos, we want our people to be talking, giving the, yeah.
So Marcus, the long-haired fellow at the back running the video, he's every month I'm at him with, hey, there's another tool that does this. Can you see if it's good enough yet? Because we have a TV channel that this video will be on, and we speak in English. But we have an office in Hangzhou, in China, and we have an office in Strasbourg in France, and we have an audience, a multilingual audience. So we're always trying to figure out how we can do this, and so we're always trying to see if the tools are good enough. So recently, YouTube itself has come out with a dubbing feature where this video may just have Seth speaking in French, right, or in whatever your local language is. So that may be taking that out of our hands. We were looking for one that also changes the lip syncing on his mouth, so it actually looks like he's speaking French, but that's probably not necessary. Yeah.
Seth, that was awesome seeing your journey through AI. I was interested in how your experiences working with people who have not wanted to use AI, and your experiences working with people who have been keen to learn from you and what you've taught them.
That's a good question. I will start with the people who are keen to learn. The people who are keen to learn, generally, there's not that much teaching I can really give them, because if they're that keen to learn, they will probably be using Chat GPT or whatever AI it is themselves to try to learn about how to use it better. And that actually works quite well. So the best learning point that you can give somebody is ask the AI all your questions, because they can give you better answers than I can. And then those who are keen to learn, they're usually, I think we calculated at least a 40% productivity boost among all the SSW developers who self-rated how much more productive they were using GitHub Copilot, which is a AI in your IDE, which is where they edit code. So I think the most important thing to somebody who's keen to learn is just they will learn it themselves by being that keen, right? They just need to use it. As far as the people who are not keen to learn, I've generally found it's for the main reason is that AI will not always be trained ethically or built, on ethical methods, and people have a moral, people are morally against it. And then I found that if they don't want to learn, they do hinder themselves a little bit in their productivity.
I found something slightly different with the a lot because we've got 100 people and we're trying to make sure everyone's up to speed. And I found definitely there was a few people who were just like, they drew a line in the sand and they're like, no, it was trained on data that they didn't ask for or something, and they just have a moral objection. But that wasn't most people. Most people had tried it when ChatGPT first came out, and it was GPT 3.5, and it was pretty dumb, right? It was cool, it was fun, it was hilarious what you could get it to come up with silly poems and stuff. But if you tried to use it for a serious business case, it took a lot of prompts until it actually gave you something useful. And either they just tried it once, they put in a prompt, it came out with something and it wasn't good and they didn't keep asking, or they just hadn't reused it again. Once GPT 4 or 4.0 or 01, any of the more modern models, they just hadn't tried them and they thought that AI, I've tried that when GPT first came out and it was rubbish, and they haven't retried it again. This was a bigger problem back when the only way you could get the good models was to pay. But now you can get the good models for free. So this is less of a problem now.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot about that, but I found that as well. Yep.
Are you still using Google much, or are you using ChatGPT almost entirely? Or how often do you drop back to Google?
I would say it's close to 50-50. Yeah, but I have a better handle now than I did before on what's going to be easier for me to Google and what's going to be easier for me to ChatGPT.
Do you use Perplexity?
I have used it, but I don't regularly use it.
Right. Do you use search in ChatGPT?
I use sometimes. Yeah.
Right.
Can I ask the same question to you, Yuli?
Yeah, this is a crazy week for you to ask me that question, because Google just this week have dropped Gemini 2. Which is their version of ChatGPT, but it's fantastic, and it's there's something called Chatbot Arena where people do blind tests, like taste testing of the same prompt, two different models give an answer, and they say which one they like the best. At the moment, Gemini 2 is killing that. It's just winning all the Chatbot Arena prompts. Interestingly, OpenAI's 01 model is not on there yet because the API for that only came out today. So watch this space. I reckon in a week, 01 will be at the top. But even from an AI perspective, we've got the Bitcoin or Coca-Cola effect with ChatGPT, right? Even we who are very much finger on the pulse are guilty of really just defaulting to ChatGPT. Even when Claude was better, there was a long period where Claude 3.5 Sonnet New was better, like markedly better. But all our custom GPTs, we were in the ecosystem. All our custom GPTs were in ChatGPT. We've got all our keyboard shortcuts set up with ChatGPT. On my iPhone, I press a button, it opens up advanced voice mode. It's just so much easier for me to use it, even if it's a little not as good. I also have a feeling, I'm biased because we're a Microsoft shop, but I have a feeling that OpenAI is generally still ahead of the pack. For me, I use Perplexity instead of Google. So Perplexity is another AI tool, but all of its answers are grounded in web results, and it gives you the specifics of where each answer came from. So it's much less prone to hallucination. ChatGPT is caught up now. They've got their own search product, and it's just inside ChatGPT. If you say like, what time's Gladiator 2 on this week in whatever Bondi, it'll search the web to find the answer. And again, just this week, that got a lot better. It now gives the web results up the top really quickly, and then takes a second to give the rest of the answer. So it's much more like a Google response, because Perplexity will think for a while before it gives you an answer, which can be a little bit annoying. But yeah, I don't know. I still love Perplexity. I think it's really good. They're bringing out shopping in it now as well. So they're starting a model where you can be like, I need a size 13 gumboots with yellow tops, and like you can be really specific in what you're looking to buy, and it'll actually search through all the shop APIs and say, well, here's one, and you can buy it in Perplexity. That's a whole new model that may be a big deal. But yeah, sorry, very long answer.
Seth, most of the people that I work with are developers, and I'd say they're probably 80% on, an AI like ChatGPT or Gemini, and 20% dropping down to Google for certain things that they don't have a specific, they can't explain it, but there's a pattern that they go back to Google for direct things that they want. And if you go to their, go to your own search history on Google, and you put, say, the last 10 results into Perplexity and just have a look at all those to see whether they would have been a good answer without all the ads, I think you'll find that you use Perplexity a lot more.
Yeah, or just straight up ChatGPT.
I have a comment on that. If you use Bing to search, I don't know if you guys have tried it lately. If you use Bing and you just not search like Google, but it has a Copilot button there. And if you click on that button, it actually does what Perplexity does with Copilot on Bing with your search.
So does Gemini. So if you search in Google now, the bit right up the top is actually an AI answer. So for what Seth's doing, I'm kind of the same. If I'm looking for a specific website, I still go to Google, maybe out of habit, I'm not sure. And also because Perplexity, as I said, was taking a little second to think about it before it was giving me an answer. Google's pretty quick. Just this week, the Search GPT thing has been improved and sped up, so that I may end up using ChatGPT for everything. I may never use Google.
Last question. What do you think is going to happen to the revenue model of Google and Bing?
Big question.
I think, I don't know about Bing, because I don't know what Bing's usage numbers look like compared to Google. Right. So that means Google is 80%?
Roughly, 70.
Roughly, okay. I would guess they will probably stay similar for a while, because unless OpenAI or one of the others builds an actual, search engine result list that you can use that's even better than Google, people are still going to go to Google when they want to find a specific website. Like when I need to go to the SSW website or SSW rules, I will never put it into ChatGPT. I will put it, I'll put it into Google. So I'm guessing those will probably stay similar for a while. Maybe they will go down a little bit, but I guess it depends on what the AIs do. How much they try to take it over.
What do you think, Louis?
So Louis was talking to me about this morning. Apparently there's some new website format called LLM.something, where you can specifically tell not search engines, but large language models, what your website's about and why it would be used. So if you want for someone to say, hey, I'm looking for a software consultancy in Sydney, and you want SSW to be one of the first answers that it comes up with, there's a way to feed that information so that it's crawled more easily by the LLMs.
So would that be like buying ad slots
So that's what
in the training data of an LLM?
Already they're in talks. I know ChatGPT has brought on someone, OpenAI has brought on someone whose job it is to do exactly that, to monetize advertising revenue. So they haven't done it, but they haven't said that they're not doing it, and they've hired people who are experts in that. So I think that's coming.
Right.